Welcome to Classes of Mail. Before you listen, you should know that Alan Gigax is not in any sense an official spokesman for the Post Office, the NALC, or anybody else. His opinions are inherently his own and should probably be disregarded. Same for his guests. Any information you hear on this podcast could be wrong and should not be relied upon for any reason. Enjoy the show.
Not gonna sing this time?
Classes of Mail. Good stuff. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Classes of Mail. Maybe another video episode. I don't know. We'll see how these come out. My name is Alan Gigax. I'm here with Michael Brazenly.
Hi, everyone.
And we're going to do more presidential rulings. I got so wrapped up in them last time that Michael had to remind me, like, hey, dude, this episode's running pretty long. So we're going to do a second episode because I find this stuff so interesting. So shall we get right into it?
Yep.
All right. Our next ruling is from Lola Iroko out of Suitland, Maryland, branch 651. This is ruling 8889, December 15th, 2022. This is in reply to your letter received December 12th, 2022, in which you raised several objections to the composition of the committee appointed by Branch 651 President Matthews to investigate charges you have filed against another member of the branch. At the outset, while I appreciate your concerns, I must advise that it would be entirely inappropriate for me to intervene in this matter at this time. I can provide the following general guidance with respect to the appointment of the committee. Okay, so here we have one that's different from last time, because last time the person said, hey, there's a problem with the committee, and the president agreed to step in and, have a new committee. In this case, the president's not stepping in. So let's go further. Article 10, Section 3 of the Constitution. Oh, and to reiterate from last episode, every time we talk about the Constitution, we're talking about the Constitution for the government of subordinate and federal branches, which is one of many constitutions that we have, but this is the one that we're concerned with. Okay. Article 10, Section 3 of the Constitution governs the appointment of investigating committee. It specifically provides that the branch president is to appoint committees to investigate charges against officers or members, with one exception. If the charges are filed against the branch president, then the investigating committee is to be appointed by the vice president, or the next highest ranking officer if the vice president is also charged. The president has discretion to make these appointments without a vote by the members. The only other requirement provided by Article 10, Section 3 is that the members of the committee must be, quote, disinterested, end quote. Previous rulings have recognized that the phrase disinterested members means that members appointed to the committee must be disinterested with respect to all charges they are responsible for investigating. Quite obviously, the charging or charged parties may not be appointed to the committee. Similarly, any officer or member who is likely to be involved in the investigation as a witness should not be appointed to the committee. However, contrary to your suggestion, the Constitution does not broadly disqualify branch officers or members because they work with the charged party. Objections to the composition of the committee can be made at the meeting at which the committee reports its findings to the branch. In addition, previous rulings have recognized that even if there is no separate appeal challenging a committee appointment, a claim that one or more committee members was not disinterested or that appointments to the committee were otherwise improper can be included in an appeal to the National Committee on Appeals from the branch's ultimate determination of the merits of the charges. Ultimately, what matters is that the facts are fully investigated and that a fair and accurate presentation is made to the branch before it votes on the merits of the charges. So this gets into why these rulings are made. And again, even though we don't have access to the letter that caused this ruling to be made, we can make some inferences here. In the previous ruling where the president decided to step in and appoint a new committee, there were arguments that, hey, this committee is not disinterested because you've got these, because it was actually appointed by the person who was being charged.
Yes.
That's right. That was the problem with that committee.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas this one, it appears that the president appointed the secretaries to be on the committee and they've got a cozy relationship and so they shouldn't be appointed. That's not going to hold muster. You're going to have something thicker than that shows why this person would be disinterested. If you're investigating, like our our charges against our branch election chair, if the president had appointed other members of the election committee to be on the investigating committee, that would be a problem because they're going to be involved on the ass end of the investigation. Like they're going to be asked questions and stuff.
Well, the same is if it's election, then anybody who's on the election is also a problem.
Potentially,
Yeah.
yeah, because that's reasonable, right? Because they have a vested interest in the outcome, right? And so this is, those are the kind of arguments you need to make. You need to explain why this is going to create a conflict, and not just, I don't like it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, you had to have some kind of issue of like why this person is wrong for being in the committee.
right, exactly.
Because just like I said with the election, if somebody's in the election, of course they're going to try to make it so
Yeah.
they win.
Right.
Okay.
And as the president rightly points out, if you think it's an unfair committee and then you get, what you think is railroad and they did a slipshod job, then that becomes a basis for your appeal. And National will be sensitive to those sorts of issues. Next, Eddie Davidson, we've heard of him, out of Marietta, Georgia, Region 9. July 11th, 2023, this is ruling 9096. This is in reply to your email sent July 6, 2023, concerning the appointment of a committee to investigate charges against the president of Branch 546. The branch vice president Terrell advises that he is unable to appoint a committee of disinterested members and requested that you appoint the committee. Brother Terrell's request for assistance in appointing the committee appears to be reasonable in light of the facts presented in his letter. Accordingly, I am authorizing you or a representative from your office, whom you may designate, to appoint the investigating committee. If necessary, you or your designee may arrange for the appointment of a committee to investigate the charges consisting of 3 members from outside the branch. Sound familiar?
Yeah.
Yeah, because Michael and I had to go through the same thing because our investigative committee simply weren't doing their job. And so we had to get National involved, and they did. They stepped in and they took over the investigation, and we got a much more thorough investigation. So I bet you at the next convention, when the next set of these comes out, our names are going to be in there in a bunch of places.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, moving on.
How many of those do you have? 4 or 5 of them?
We've had quite a few.
Yeah.
And I would imagine that the decisions on the Committee on Appeals get published as well. And we're going to be in that one too.
Yeah.
And successful on all counts except for the last one.
Well, and the appeals that Michael Rivera put in. And
Yeah,
Mario
those are
put
gonna be in there too.
Those will probably be in there
Absolutely.
too. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and there will be a whole batch of new interesting presidential rulings to look at.
Yeah, but those have been done by Brian Renfro.
Yes, they will have been done by Brian Renfro. All right, next. This is from the Branch 5521 officers. They must have all written in as a team from Prairie Village, Kansas. Dude, how many officers could that branch have? It doesn't matter. Maybe Prairie Village is big. I don't know. September 21st, 2023, ruling number 9177. This is in reply to your 2 letters received September 11th, 2023, concerning charges that you filed against the president of Branch 5521 under Article 10 of the Constitution. Your first letter asserts that you believe you cannot find 3 disinterested members of the branch to investigate the charges. Accordingly, you request that I appoint the committee. Please be advised that this request is not appropriate. Since the 3 of you are the members who filed the charges, it would be completely improper for any of you to appoint the committee. That's interesting. So this letter said like, hey, I don't think that I can appoint a committee of disinterested members. And Renfro writes back, yeah, you can't appoint a committee of disinterested members. But of course, that's not where it stops. Putting your national president hat on, Michael, what do you think President Renfro is going to recommend?
Because they can't find disinterested members. I mean, then what does the...
Well, no. He's saying, so that these officers who wrote in said like, hey, we're unable to find... let's just say for argument's sake that it was the president and the secretary and the treasurer. And hey, we can't appoint disinterested members, but the secretary and the treasurer are being charged. So Renfro's response is like, yeah, you couldn't appoint these people even if you thought they were disinterested because you're one of the charged parties. So it's
Right.
inappropriate for you.
Right.
So what's he going to recommend? What do you think?
recommend the branch to decide?
You're on the right track. At least somebody else.
Yeah.
So he goes on, if there are no prior rulings have recognized that the committee must be appointed by an officer who is not involved in the charges.
Could be, it could be
it could be a trustee. It could be any of those other. It could be the Mutual Benefit Association
Or Sergeant of
representative.
Arms, if
Yes,
that's the
Sergeant
one
at
we
Arms.
have.
Exactly. If there are no other officers eligible to appoint the committee, then the investigating committee may be appointed by action. Michael said it, of the members of the branch. And this is why I like doing this, because you kind of get a sense of how these rulings work and how the president thinks and how the Constitution works. And that insight is critical to if you're a branch member, making sure you don't get fucked.
Yeah.
And B, if you're a branch president, making sure you don't fuck people.
Yeah. And the reason that I believe that he's saying that you got to use an officer first, because most of them, they know the rules and the Robert's Rules of Order and so forth.
Well, and it's a constitutional issue.
So they know the rules better than probably most.
Yeah, maybe.
general
But
membership.
regardless, that
Yeah.
authority is vested in officers. But it goes on. Specifically, the branch could nominate and elect members to the committee at a regular or special meeting. Alternatively, the members could vote to select an individual disinterested branch member to appoint the members of the committee. As a last resort, the national president may authorize the national business agents to appoint the investigating committee where the branch has been able to do so. So there you have it.
Yeah. So at my branch, when we asked
Yeah.
for re-election
Yep.
and the investigation to be done, that was because we filed a lot of president's rulings and the branch we actually had on our decision on us.
Yeah.
It was actually the branch said, "Hey, we don't know how to get a resolver
Right.
done
Right. How
on
to
this.
proceed. Yeah.
And so we're just going to have somebody else from a different
Right.
place to make
Right.
that decision."
Right.
Okay? And but instead of them making a decision, looking at all the paperwork, they were to investigate again.
Right.
So, which I am glad because the investigation
Oh, it
they did
needed
on
to be
ours
done. Yeah,
was
no
not
doubt.
good. Yeah.
All right. So at the beginning, the president says that there's two letters. The second letter, it says, your second letter raises an issue pertaining to the procedure for voting on potential penalties if any of the charges are sustained. As you recognize, Article 10, Section 4 of the Constitution requires a 2/3 vote for questions of expulsion or removal from office and for the imposition of a fine. As previous rulings have recognized, this requirement does not refer to 2/3 of the entire membership. Rather, that requirement is that those specified punishments must be supported by 2/3 of the votes cast by the members present and voting at the branch meeting at which the charges are considered. So there you go. That's, it doesn't say that in the Constitution, which is why these rulings are worthwhile. I mean, to me, I've read enough of these where it just refers to who's at the branch meeting, but it doesn't say that.
Just wanted to reiterate, this is our second video.
Yeah.
And so anybody who has not heard of anything before, we were on Spotify and podcast, and we've already gone over.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
A lot of
right.
stuff in the last
right.
couple
If you're
years.
watching this on video, hey, we've got 250 episodes on Spotify, Classes of Mail.
And you can
Yeah,
go
that's a
back
good call.
to Spotify or
Oh, yeah.
podcast
Right.
and
Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. Yeah.
and listen to those if you
that's a
don't
good
know
call.
what's going on.
Right.
I mean the basics. We're gonna just mention just the basic stuff because majority of the people that listen to us, they already know.
Right.
What
yeah,
happened.
we already have an established listenership
Yeah.
on podcast. Okay. Moving on. The next one is from Barbara Raphael out of West Palm Beach, Florida, branch 1690, ruling 8817, October 4th, 2022. This is in reply to your email sent September 30th, 2022, concerning the investigation of your charges against officers of branch 1690. Your email raises questions concerning the hearing procedure to be implemented by the investigating committee. Now, not the hearing in front of the branch, this is what the investigators are going to be doing. Article 10, Section 3 of the Constitution provides that the investigating committee is to, quote, summon the parties, end quote, and hear and record the testimony and documentary evidence presented by them. Michael, when Article 10 charges were brought against us, did they
didn't do any of
summon
that.
the parties? No, they sure did not.
did not do
No, they did not.
In fact, I know that some Article 10 charge that's going on right now, they're not calling for witnesses either.
Dude.
Yeah.
What a fucking mess. Article 10, Section 3 specifically provides that all parties are, quote, entitled to be heard by the committee. Michael, were we heard by the committee in our charges?
No.
No, we were not.
Oh, and here's another thing in my
Yeah.
branch that most people don't know. So we passed in our branch meeting to have these committees get paid
Oh, yeah,
for their
that's true.
time.
Right.
So,
They get paid hourly at
so
Top
not
Step.
only do they get paid, but when they're not doing their job either.
Yeah. And whose job is it to make sure that the committee does their job?
That would be the president.
That's right, the branch president,
Yeah.
who has general supervisory authority. Okay, so
And so when they don't do their job doing the committee or wherever,
Right.
then you file an appeal saying, that, hey, they didn't do their job.
right,
Well, as you know, some branches, when you do that, you might get
yeah, they say that you're a
railroaded and
troublemaker.
You're a troublemaker.
Right.
And they try to remove you and
Yeah.
possibly for 3 years.
Yeah. So,
So just possibility.
right. So to go back here, it's Section 3, Article 10, Section 3 specifically provides that all parties are entitled to be heard by the committee, which we were not, to present evidence, which we were not, to cross-examine all witnesses who make statements to the committee, which we were not allowed to do any of that stuff. And our conviction was overturned by the National Committee on Appeals. So, but if I remember right, it was overturned on merit. It wasn't overturned on technicality. It wasn't overturned on due process reasons. Oh, it was overturned because they never even cited a rule that
Right.
we were breaking. That was how
Yeah,
it was
there was no
overturned.
rules
That's
being
right.
broken.
Yeah. Okay.
They only cited the preamble
Right.
of a
Of the
constitution.
Constitution. Yeah.
Or was it or bylaws
It was
or
the-
something?
yeah,
whatever
something
it
like
was.
that. All right.
Preamble is not a law.
No,
it's
it
just
is not.
about like how
Yeah.
why they're the
Right,
rules
these
exist.
are our goals or whatever. Yeah. Okay. So the presidential ruling goes on. This means that both the charged and charging parties have the right to attend the hearing and to cross-examine each other as well as witnesses produced by the other side. It is up to the committee to decide who else may attend the hearing.
So
This is what we wanted
yes.
when we had
Yeah.
our charges.
So here's the
Yeah.
thing. This is in Kansas, right?
Yeah.
Let's say
I
in the,
don't know. This one
you
was
said
in, this is in West
Michigan.
Palm Beach.
West Palm Beach, okay.
Florida, yeah.
So I'm just gonna go. Let's say it was a branch meeting, and let's say there was only like 10 people. Okay.
Okay.
If there's only like 10 people, then there will be nobody that's gonna be there. That's probably gonna be able to be disinterested.
But that was the previous letter.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
Okay.
I'm just going.
All right.
These things.
So
Because I just thought of it. I know it's a
Right.
little bit later, but
it goes on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a
That's
good
how-
point. If
that's
it's a really
how-
small branch,
yeah,
it's
then
almost right. Like
you
if
need
you all work
somebody else.
in the same office and
Yeah.
everybody already knows the story,
right.
Yeah, that's a good
You
call.
need somebody else to make that decision.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so getting back to this one, normally cross-examination of witnesses is conducted face-to-face. The committee has discretion to develop reasonable procedures to address particular problems in order to assure that the cross-examination is conducted in an orderly manner. All parties and witnesses are expected to comply with the committee's decision regarding hearing procedures. So again, like when we had the charges brought against us, we welcome them because great, we finally get to ask these people the questions that we've been wanting to ask forever and get their answers on record, which is why they never did it. Yeah.
And then I talked to one of them because I knew them pretty well because
Yep.
and the answer was, oh, we were told to find stuff to go against you.
Right.
So
Yeah, we were getting railroaded from
yeah,
the beginning. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
But we knew we were gonna win because of LMRDA and all
Yeah,
that
yeah.
stuff. So
yeah. Okay, moving on. The next one is from Troy Smith in Buckner, Missouri, branch 5521. This is ruling 9268, dated January 3rd, 2024. This is in reply to your email sent December 21st, 2023, regarding the investigation of charges filed against the president of branch 5521. According to your email, the committee rescheduled an initial meeting because the charge party advised you that he could not attend. You now ask whether the committee may continue to hold hearings if the charged party again fails to appear. This
how many
is an
times did that
interesting one.
happen?
Yeah, that is.
when it's
Yeah,
against
that
us,
did
it was
happen,
immediate.
yeah.
But it was against them, it was like delayed 2-3 months.
Yeah, isn't that something?
Huh.
While I appreciate your concerns, I must advise that it would be inappropriate for me to make a specific recommendation. The committee has discretion to decide how to proceed. I can offer the following general guidance. Article 10, Section 3 of the Constitution explicitly states that the parties, quote, are entitled to be heard by the committee and to present evidence, end quote. This language vests the committee with the discretion to schedule hearing times. Although in exercising this discretion, it must take care to ensure that the parties are given a fair opportunity to exercise their right to be heard, to present evidence, and to cross-examine witnesses. So once again, this is reinforcing those due process rights. The charged or charging party are certainly entitled to request that the hearing be scheduled at convenient times, and the committee would have discretion to honor that request. However, a party who elects not to attend a scheduled hearing would run the risk of waiving their Article 10 rights. The failure of a party to attend the hearing would not bar the committee from completing its investigation based on the evidence available to it and reporting it to the branch. If any party declines to attend the hearing or present evidence, that fact may be included in the committee's report to the branch. At the same time, the parties are entitled to a fair hearing. If a party believes the investigating committee has abused its discretion so as to compromise the fairness of the hearing, that argument could be raised as an issue in an appeal. Oh, hey, that's the last one.
Yeah. So, going back to some of the stuff that happened to us,
Yeah.
for people who doesn't know, we have filed a lot of appeals.
Right.
Okay. And there were, so we were being charged for defamation. Okay. So I just wanted people to see this. Okay. The defamation, if you look at LMRDA and look at the Constitution, you cannot be disciplined for any freedom of speech. Okay. And so.
Right. It's specifically protected.
Yeah. Specifically protected. But, you'll have officers or branches that doesn't know that law. And they go after the carriers, saying they would defame them. Okay, it literally says any defamation, things like that. Literally says that it's a civil matter, not a union matter.
It says that in the LMRDA?
Yeah,
I haven't seen that.
Okay,
But
it's a civil matter.
Okay.
Okay, so because it's a civil matter, and not for union matter, and so if somehow it goes through the union,
Okay.
and the investigator does go through it, okay. For us, let's say for us, so let's say we talk shit about somebody and mention their name and said how much of a piece of crap or whatever
Right.
it is. But not just that. We mention about their families. We mention about what car they drive. We mention about this, and that.
Okay.
And literally harm them. That would be defamation.
Sure.
Okay? Now, also, you could say, oh, well, this person did this. And so he looks like it's bad because it's defamation. So anytime who investigates a defamation, it looks kind of guilty. But in courts, you have to show defamation that what hurt them. Right.
You have to show you've been harmed.
So at the union, people are going to say, hey, did they defame this person? Did they talk shit about this person? Well, in technicality, the investigator, they did.
They did, right. So they're guilty.
So they're guilty because they did.
That's the problem.
Okay. And the problem is, at that point, what's the penalty? Okay.
Right.
Well, they defamed him. The penalty is nothing because in the law, that's where the investigator should have seen is the law says you can't be punished for freedom of speech.
Right.
So therefore, even though they defamed him because the law says this and our Constitution says this, that we believe that these people should not be charged for anything because this is against the law.
Right.
That's how it should be done.
I hear you.
But unfortunately, a lot of people don't know because they usually pick people, even though disinterested party might be, is that they don't know any of these rules.
Right. And that's why we do this, to inform people about how the process is actually supposed to work, to make sure that your rights are protected and that you don't get railroaded and that you don't railroad somebody else.
Right.
And if you have questions on this stuff, I mean, we're paying our national president like $350,000 a year.
Right.
Send that dude an email. Ask him your question, and you will get a response. Or send it to Nicole Ryan, the Secretary Treasurer. She's really good at answering
Mac
this stuff
Julian,
as well.
too.
Yeah, Mac Julian, right. There's a lot of people you can turn to.
Or
Send
Paul
it-
Barner.
Yeah. Send it to me. My answer doesn't count for anything, but I have looked into a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
Classesofmail@gmail.com.
Yeah. And then we can probably tell you the procedure and how to ask questions too.
Right,
you know.
exactly. So, all right, dude, I think that's it.
And we can go over to see if there was any proof of how to charge you. How are you going to file this letter,
Right.
proving that?
Oh,
something
yeah. I will definitely
We can definitely
help
help
with
you with
that.
some of that.
Right,
Because if
like-
it says this person hates me, well, I
Yeah,
think
that's not
just
gonna
a little
carry
too
much
vague.
weight.
Yeah, I don't
Right.
think that's going to go too well.
Yeah,
we
that's
can help you with some of that. Yeah.
Right. All right. So thank you guys for listening, and we will catch you all next time.